Hello, everyone. My name is Carson Matute, and welcome to my TED Talk. Getting right into it and just jumping right into part A, my intro. Let's talk about my favorite quote from the chapter called Foundation. It goes, "Instead of folding into myself and dwelling into discontent and sorrow, I chose to use my experiences to become stronger, push myself to move forward, and clear these emotional hurdles." This was definitely my favorite because I 100% believe in always moving forward regardless of the negativities of your past. I try to always look at past experiences as lessons and use my failures to be guides for the future because at the end of the day, everybody fails. And if they say they don't, they're either a liar or just stupid. But it's the truth. Everybody fails here and there. And it just depends on if you're smart enough to be able to learn from them or not. The next chapter, adversity. My favorite quote was, "You either have faith that you are highly favored, or you block your favor because you lose faith." Um, I sent this quote into my family group me message because it just resonated with me so well and everything I've lived my life by because just like my mom's pretty religious. Both my parents are really, but my mom like definitely more so. And just all my life, she has always talked to me about having faith and just knowing that everything will be okay, and just just keeping faith on your mind at all times. And also, she always loves saying how she's blessed and highly favored. That's like her go-to. Um, and it was just funny hearing a quote like that in the book that just pretty much fit with me and my entire mindset just so well. So because I mean that's basically what's been drilled into me since I was a kid. So it's what I carry with throughout my life. So I can really connect to that quote. For the next chapter titled Success, my quote was, "You can't expect to steer your own life if you keep handing over the keys to someone else." I like this one a lot because I think oftentimes people get confused on why their life isn't progressing the way they may want it to. A lot of times people are expecting the actions of others to be the driving force in their life, which honestly sometimes may be the case, maybe, but more often than not, you have to be the one making all the executive decisions to really advance and get to where you want to be in life. Part B, my foundation. Who or what is my foundation? Definitely my family, especially my parents. I mean, no matter where I'm at, no matter what I'm doing, I know they have and always will have my best interests at heart. I often take them for granted, which I'm going to talk about more later. But that's something I'm doing a lot less as I'm getting older and older, fortunately. But yeah, it just feels good to know that I have them in my back and in my corner, like at all times, no matter what. Where I feel most grounded, honestly, just being at home in my room. That's just me. I'm the type of person who feels best and the most secure when things are normal and at ease. Because though, while I definitely understand that change is good, I feel that I can make the most progress and just stay the most focused when I'm completely comfortable with everything surrounding me. My safe place and the area where I believe growth is most advantageous. Like the last answer, I usually feel most safe when I'm within my own walls at home. That's due to the fact that I just feel like I think best when I'm alone. Not that I'm antisocial or anything. I actually think I'm great in groups and a really good leader. It's just the fact that I seem to be able to focus on certain tasks better and fine tune whatever needs to be fixed when I'm by myself. Whether that's for like some school assignment or just thinking about me and what I need to fix as a person, especially the latter, because at the end of the day, outside of some major disease, only you know what's best for you. And like Mr. Wallace said, he goes, quite frankly, not a single person has your best interest at heart, which I completely agree with. places where I was rocky or unsteady in my life. Believe it or not, I used to get bullied back in elementary school. Though that was a tough time for me, my mom really helped me throughout that process and just drilled into my head not to dwell too much on things of the past. Mr. Wallace says and I'll quote, I decided long ago it's better to use my experiences to build me up, not break me down. And that definitely goes hand in hand with everything my mother used to tell me because while bullies made elementary school extremely rocky for me, well basically it's because they made it hard for me to be myself. But now that I'm past that, instead of being shy and always thinking about how my life was at that young age, I have the confidence to keep my same personality wherever I'm at. Part C, adversity. Name one pivotal obstacle that has made you develop and change for the better. Name a challenge that has changed you for the worse. Which obstacle ultimately defines you? Well, one big pivotal obstacle that definitely changed me for the better brings me back to my elementary school days. Like I said in the last question, I used to get bullied. The days when I would get bullied were basically just because of who I am. Fun fact, I'm actually fully black. Both my parents are fully black, but oftentimes people think I'm mixed. I guess I understand it considering I'm so light skinned, but anyways, that was pretty much the basis of my bullying. I would get made fun of by a group of three black girls. They were dark skinned, essentially laughing at me because I wasn't black enough and saying how I needed to choose a side because, I mean, I said I was black, but I almost looked more like some of the white kids. So I guess I just didn't really fit in, and they would exploit that. Uh, well, first of all, now that I'm older, looking back, that whole situation of being laughed at because I wasn't black enough is kind of funny to me. Just considering the structure of our world right now and the whole political climate we're in. But anyway, all of that just taught me to be happy in my own skin and never be ashamed of who I was because my mom would always tell me that God made me as a unique individual and I'm really just my own person and I never have to be ashamed of that. So, on the contrary, when I think of a challenge that changed me for the worse, I think of all the times I had to help my friends cheat on tests in middle school. I mean, because none of my friends were gifted as I were, so they would always ask for help during exams. And I mean, I was young, so like, of course, I didn't want them to stop being my friends, so I would help them. But yeah, that's just how it was. And both were experiences that changed who I was as a person. One more positive than the other, of course, but I don't think one of them defines me more than the other. Because I'm the type of person who values all my losses just as much as I value my wins, if not more. So I'm equally appreciative for each obstacle because they both molded who I am today. After all, Mr. Wallace says, you must be willing to shed a few pounds of flesh in order to someday feast off the fruits of your labor. And I just look at that as knowing you're going to take some L's in life and you have to know that and not be afraid to go through times where you may not be the most comfortable because you just have to look at the light at the end of the tunnel and know you're going to eventually be all right. Part D, my life. During the trash can activity, who was privileged and who was not? And why were they privileged and why did it appear that way? The students at the front of the class were privileged and the students at the back, farther from the trash can, were not. Basically, students at the front were more privileged due to the fact that it was easier to throw the paper ball in the trash can and win $100, of course, the closer you were to it. Which is why students at the front were privileged because they were near where Dr.Sawyerr placed the trash can on the table. What obstacles got in the way of achieving my goal due to the alleged privilege? Well, I mean, obstacles such as just other people sitting in my way, possible wind currents from air conditioning, and most importantly, the problem of a far distance to throw, depending on my seat in the classroom. And all of these were issues I would have to deal with more and more the farther my seat was from the front, which will mean, in turn, I was more privileged the closer I was sitting to the front. Is everyone afforded the same opportunities? I feel that everyone is absolutely not given the same opportunities. I mean, people can have a preconceived notion based on you just off how you look, just based off how you're dressed, or even your skin color. I mean, you can have a different. I feel like you can have a completely different batch of career possibilities based on where you're born in the world. And speaking of being born, someone can be born into a rich family, whereas someone can also be born into an area of poverty. Um, of course, that has an effect on how you start off your life, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to make your own decisions, and at the end of the day, it's up to you to get to where you want to be. I mean, just because you're born into a rich family doesn't mean you're not going to waste it all. And just because you're born into a poor family doesn't mean you can't work your way up. Um, like I said, where you're born is 100% out of your control. Um, as a child, you never have anything to do where you're born. You can't control it. But from day one, different people have completely different opportunities from the start. And there are so many different scenarios that cause people to be awarded different opportunities than others, which really isn't all that fair. But then again, life is not fair at all. So, how did I feel when I finally thought I had it all figured out? Only to have the goal change position and a new obstacle was added into my life. Reading this immediately made me think about my freshman year in high school. All throughout elementary and middle school, I was an all A student, and I pretty much never had any issues with my academics. And my older brother would always downplay my grades, saying how they didn't matter because I wasn't in high school yet. Which at the time I wasn't trying to hear because I wanted credit for my grades. But now that I'm older, I understand. But fast forwarding, I'm in high school now. Freshman year goes by, sophomore year goes by, and I'm struggling with my grades, sort of. I'm not struggling because I don't understand the material, because like just honestly on my intelligence alone, like I could do pretty good. I was struggling because I wasn't really aware of the different types of curriculum they throw at me. I mean, when I was younger, I could just do everything based off my smarts. I never take notes. I never study anything like that, and I thought I was good to go for the future. And I realized as I went through high school, I had to change my perspective on that for sure. And I couldn't just go off my brains. I actually had to use like academic strategies and whatnot, and that's just something I was never used to. This is still a problem to this day because I'm not the type of person who can just set time aside to study, but it's definitely something I'm actively working on. How did making a change to alter my goal impact my life? I had the simple goal of being an A student. Simple as that. I will say beforehand though, I never got there in high school. At least I never really just got to that level. I had great good grades, but never really all A mark. Anyways, changing my ways definitely made life different. I mean, I couldn't go home and just play video games like I always did. I had to spend time studying, writing notes, reading books, like basically anything that would help me be a better student. And I'm still working on these practices to this day because I still have numerous bad habits to fix. But I enjoy these changes I'm making because they make me more prepared, more organized, and just overall a more well-ran individual. I mean, of course, in school, making good grades and whatnot, but having those good habits with my studies and my schoolwork made the qualities overflow into the rest of my life. And I really appreciate that. Part E, success. Who or what defines success? Well, I'm sorry about that. I feel like success is a much more personal term than many people may think it is. I mean, for one, or at least in my eyes, it's a pretty common, pretty common. I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. 1 second, please. It's a pretty common misapprehension that money equals success, or a lot of money means you are very successful. Now, I'm not the type of person to undervalue money because I definitely understand the significance in this world, but money is just physical. I mean, and I think success taps into more than just the physical world, but the emotional and mental world as well. And at the end of the day, I feel like you're successful if you're happy where you are in life, you're happy about who's in your life, and you have no regrets about living your life how you want to live it, however that may be. So that's what success is to me. What life changing experiences did I encounter? It's funny because um, as I've been listening to the book, I've been having to jog my memories and think about things I haven't really thought about in a while. Partly to answer the questions on this TED Talk, of course, yes, but also the book has made me think about my life as a whole from a different point of view. Um, the other day, I was talking to my parents about some random things that had happened in the past that I had been thinking about, and then the next day, I did the same thing. Basically, I caught myself reminiscing a couple times, and what was funny is my dad says, "Carson, you've been mighty nostalgic lately. Is everything okay?" And I just laughed because I guess I guess he was right. I mean, I have been thinking about my past a lot, and I suppose this situation isn't necessarily life changing as other events may be, but it definitely made me take a step back and realize that maybe as I live life from now on, I should embrace my former experiences more and hold them closer to me and not just shut them out of my daily thought process. If that makes sense. How have how have I changed my perception through viewing another world's view? Um, my perception has changed because, well, I'll start with something from Mr. Wallace himself. He said he reflects on his past often, even if some of it is painful. And to quote him, he said, "Most recollections are joyous. However, there is not a single meaningless memory." And that sort of made me change my perception because I was kind of already the type to 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 take my losses from the past and try and turn them to wins in the future. But I would usually do that by trying to remove the failure from my memory banks, and then so trying to train my brain to know what not to do and know what not to repeat if it was something I tried to remove from my thoughts. But now I feel that I should keep everything in my mind, good or bad, and just have the intelligence to know how to learn from everything and learn from my old mistakes and know how to make decisions for the better. Well, first and foremost, before I continue, I just want to say something to everybody who's listening right now. Um, I just wanted to say I've had a multitude of technical difficulties in the last few hours or so. That's to say the least. And I'm just sharing this because honestly, I feel like I really just feel like that's just that's just negative energy. That's just the devil and all his negative energy trying to stop this message. Because I feel like not only is it a good message for whoever's listening, but everything I'm saying is great for me even more so just because like it's going through my thought process and it's changing the way I think. So I just wanted to share that for anybody who's watching right now. But and I won't let those difficulties stop me. Um, when it comes to three goals for myself, my first one immediately comes into my mind, and it's the fact that I need to stop procrastinating. Um, and that just comes from my mind so quick because it's something I've been actively trying to work on, more or less, because it's an issue I've had my entire life. Even Dr. Sawyer knows about it because we've spoken about it in class a few times. Um, and I won't say when this TED Talk was recorded in comparison to its due date because she may kill me, but that I just know that that's really something I need to work on, and I'm just working day by day to get that fixed. Another goal is that I need to stay organized. I mean, and that's bigger than school. That goes into my daily life as well. Just trying to keep my room in pristine shape, know when to type stuff into my phone calendar, write stuff into my planner, and just having a better base to my life. And what I mean by a better base is just a nice systematic way of doing things. I've always been the type to wing it and be spontaneous, but as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that's definitely not the way to go about things, and I just really need to do stuff with a certain structure. As my third goal, I would like to stop being so hard on my parents. Um, I just turned 19 last week, and I just know up until now, since I was a toddler, like they have always put positive influences in my life and just instilled good values in me. So just so I can reach my fullest potential, and I can never thank them enough for that. And I know that even though we're always arguing, always getting into it, they really mean a lot to me. And I guess I should just that my goal is to just try and make that a little more apparent to them. In my community, I guess down the line, I just want to be someone people can look up to, whether younger or older. It doesn't matter. I just want people to look my way and say, "That's a guy who has all his stuff together. That's someone who's the full package," or he knows where he's at in life and he knows where he wants to be, and more importantly, he knows what he has to do to get there. So that's how I'd like them to look at me. As for the last question, Carlos Wallace opened the novel by saying, "Welcome to my world. Take what you need." And what I gained from viewing this world and what I needed is, well, for one, I feel like I gained more insight into how I can use my past experiences for the better and how I can have a different perspective on certain events that transpire in my life, especially those that are bad. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it feels good to be able to understand your faults and not only know how to learn and move on from them, but really know how to tap into your inner mindset and understand how those certain faults made you who you are as a person and what you need to change until you're who you want to be as one. So, yeah, and early on in the book, it stated that few things are more liberating than knowing who you are, what you want, and what you'll do to get there. And I just think that having that freedom, um, and having that mindset as your thought process is ultimately exactly what I needed to hear from life is not complicated you are, because just where I am in my life, my age, and just how I'm progressing currently throughout life, I feel like that's definitely something I needed to hear in order to improve my mindset. So that's the end. My name is Carson Matute, and thanks for listening to my TED Talk.